fantasy football show with the scholar and Emil.
Yes, it's the Blitz Fantasy Football College with John Laub, the scholar. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. It is week 2. We have a college football season. We weren't always sure. There's usually 130 teams. There's now about 76, but I've been watching it already. There was a game yesterday. I know the world was watching Kansas City and Houston. So was I. But there were moments when I was watching University of Alabama, Birmingham, and Miami. So I'm ready, Emil, to talk some college fantasy football.
So just as a real novice, is it week 1 or week 2 of college?
So technically it's week 2. Most college fantasy football seasons are starting this week or next week. That's why I wanted to kick off the show today, because it might be a smaller percentage than normal, but there's DFS this weekend. I played some DFS last weekend, and I want to get the viewers excited about the college fantasy football season coming up.
Fantastic. You ready for slide number 1?
I am, my friend.
Here we go. Or actually, slide 1 is the intro, but we're slide number 2. There you are, sir.
All right, my friend. What I want people to do is, what games are interesting from a fantasy football standpoint and just from a nice day on the couch in front of the television. Now, week 2 is interesting. There's a lot of blowouts predicted. Clemson is a 33-point favorite against Wake Forest. I'm not going to look at those big games that are blowouts, but there is some fantasy goodness there. But I'm looking at games in which have very interesting players and have closer point spreads. One of the first ones that I'm really excited about is Syracuse at North Carolina tomorrow. You notice it's a 65-point over-under. There should be lots of scoring in this game. But North Carolina is a 23-point home favorite. But the Tar Heels have an NFL-level prospected quarterback, Sam Howell. I'm excited to watch him. They have 2 wide receivers who may very well get drafted next year, Damani Brown and Daz Newsome. North Carolina does not have a great running game, but they can throw the football all over the yard. And why it's interesting, as a 23-point underdog, my friend, Syracuse is going to be throwing the football in the second half of the game. They have a quarterback, Tommy DeVito, who has a lot of experience, and they have some nice wide receivers. So there's fantasy goodness that I'm looking for in this game tomorrow between the Tar Heels and the Orange Men. One of the favorites that I'm really looking forward to is Western Kentucky at Louisville. It's not one of those games where, you know, the casual fan might not know a lot about this matchup. But if you love college football, this game is absolutely loaded with college football stars for all of us to watch and enjoy. First, on the Western Kentucky side, they are underdogs by 11.5. But they have a nice receiver in Ja'Cour Pearson. They have a transfer quarterback in Terrell Pegram from the University of Maryland. He can throw the football. And they have Gaj Walker, who's a Doak Walker nominee in the running back for the Hilltoppers. But on the other side, Louisville is loaded, Emil. They have Javian Hawkins at running back. They have Tutu Atwell at wide receiver and a quarterback, Mikhail Cunningham. There are so many points going to be on the board in this game. Get your players in the lineups. I'm looking forward to Western Kentucky and Louisville. Another game, Louisiana, coming from the Sun Belt, is traveling to Iowa State. Now, this game was not on the schedule if we were talking in June. It came about because both teams had opponents who canceled their season, so they were able to put them on the schedule. So Louisiana is going to go to Iowa State. Now, I like these games when you have a Power 5 conference versus a Group of 5 conference. The Cyclones are in the Big 12, and they're a good home team. Again, they have nice receivers. They have a very good running back in Brees Hall, and they have a quarterback in Brock Purdy, who's a borderline NFL prospect. But Louisiana, they are nasty, Emil. They're going to run the football, they're going to run the football, and they're going to run the football. They have Elijah Mitchell, and they have Trey Regis in the backfield, and Levi Lewis, their quarterback. So I expect this game to go over. There's a lot of fantasy points in this game available. And finally, the last one, I'm going to be watching with eyes wide open. Arkansas State versus Kansas State. Arkansas State is another Group of 5 conference going to Kansas State. Arkansas State just lost to Southern Alabama. They're hurting. One of the problems I don't like about Arkansas State, they are playing 2 quarterbacks. And I'm a big believer. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. I remember when Tom Landry had Staubach and Craig Morton in Dallas. You have no quarterbacks. I think Arkansas State, they've been a tremendous team the last couple of years. I don't like this rotation of quarterbacks. And then Kansas State, I like them here. They're going to score points. We have a 54.5 over-under, and Kansas State's a 10.5-point favorite.
Fantastic. Marvelous matchups by the Scholar. Are you ready for slide 3?
I am, my friend.
Here we go.
So tomorrow, if you're a dynasty draft nerd like myself and you just love the game of football and you want to hear future NFL stars, I'm going to help you put 2 players on the microscope who you should be targeting tomorrow and watching closely. I'm going to have my pad and pen out. I'm going to be taking notes on these players. Now, I've already seen both of them play, but I need to see them this year, and I want to update my scouting reports. The first one I'm going to be looking at tomorrow is Sam Ehlinger, the Texas Longhorns quarterback against UTEP. Now, Sam Ehlinger is a very interesting prospect. I'm higher on him than most draft analysts. Actually, over the summer, for the first time, I saw Todd McShay put Sam Ehlinger in his top 10 quarterback prospects. I've had him at number 6 in this year's draft class. I like him. Why do I like him? He's a dual-threat quarterback, over 1,500 yards rushing, 25 touchdowns. He has been very, very productive. He's thrown for over 8,800 yards and 68 touchdowns in his career. What I like a lot about him, Emil, he's very smart with the football. He has 68 touchdowns with only 22 interceptions. In the modern game, we like dual-threat quarterbacks, and they're making their way into the NFL more and more. Ehlinger is 6'3", 225 pounds. He has the physical size and the athletic ability to be a quarterback. Yes, I know he has to be more accurate with the football. He needs to improve on his decision-making. But this is his senior year, and I think he can make a jump in talent level and in skills. Remember, last year at this time, no one was talking about Joe Burrow. And Sam Ehlinger is not Joe Burrow. They're very different players. But I need to watch Sam Ehlinger closely this year, and I'm going to watch him tomorrow. And the other one, if you have not seen Tamorrion Terry play at Florida State, you have been missing out on one heck of a football player. Now, I watched a lot of tape last year of Cam Akers, and I saw a lot of Florida State. One of the players who popped was Terry, 6'4", 210-pound redshirt junior. Hey, he's the FSU record holder with 5 70-plus yard touchdowns. Let me repeat that. 5 times he has scored on receptions over 70 yards. He averages 19.8 yards per catch in his career. Both of these young men should be on your Deviant Dynasty radars. They're under the microscope tomorrow for me, my friend.
Wow, that is going to be fun to watch. Incredible. And I was born in El Paso, Texas.
Oh, you were?
Which means absolutely nothing, but I thought I'd just add that. All right, here is slide number 4.
So we're going to be helping not only Debbie and Dynasty and just the love of college football. We're going to help you with regular season college football, sleepers, and we're going to help you with DFS. So I'm going to give you 5 sleepers who I like to put in lineups if you're playing this weekend. Now, one of my 6 college fantasy football leagues kicks off this weekend. And we're actually open to finishing a draft tonight so that we can start the season tomorrow. If not, we're going to start it in week 3. It's a slow draft.
Well, I hope none of your competition is watching this right now.
They might be. It's always for the viewers, right, Emil? I'm always for the viewers. So, 1, Desmond Trotter of South Alabama. He had a very nice game. He upset Southern Mississippi. They were not supposed to win that football game. I like Desmond Trotter. He's a dual threat signal caller. He had 299 yards passing, 41 yards rushing, and 2 total touchdowns. South Alabama is a home underdog against Tulane. Tulane is not very good, folks. Trust me, I'm a big fan of the American Athletic Conference. Take and pick up Desmond Trotter of South Alabama. I like him a lot in this game. If you're looking for a sleeper in the backfield, one of the underrated running backs in college football, probably because he's a little on the slight size, Puka Williams Jr. of the Kansas Jayhawks. He's 5'10", only 170 pounds. But, Emil, this is college fantasy football, not necessarily a pro prospect. He has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons on his resume. He's a junior. Kansas is hosting Coastal Carolina, and they're 6.5-point favorites. But why I like Puka in this, he's also a pass catcher. His first 2 years in the league, he has 60 receptions for 503 yards. Puka should stay on the field for all 4 quarters because Coastal Carolina should keep this game close, which means Puka's got to stay on the field. Another player I like. We all were talking about Darrington Evans from Appalachian State throughout the draft process. He ended up with the Tennessee Titans. The Mountaineers have a tremendous running game. The next man up for Appalachian State is senior 5'10", 210-pound Marcus Williams. He's had 3 consecutive seasons of over 500 yards. He's a senior. He's replacing Darrington Evans. They are a 17-point home favorite against Charlotte. The Mountaineers should be able to grind out over 200 yards on the ground in this game. I like Marcus Williams Jr. Get him in your lineups. Now, at the wide receiver position, I got 2 for you. I was talking how much I'm looking forward to this Louisville Western Kentucky game. Ja'Cour Pearson is a redshirt senior wide receiver, 5'9", 180 pounds. They are 11.5-point underdogs to the Louisville Cardinals. In the 4th quarter, the Hilltoppers should be throwing the ball often, playing catch-up. Louisville's going to score points in this game. The Hilltoppers have to keep up. I like Ja'Cour Pearson here. He had 804 yards on 76 receptions last year. Put him into your lineups. And finally, Donovan Green. If it was a month ago, I would not have mentioned him. But Sage Surratt, who was a 1st or 2nd round grade, he decided to opt out because of COVID-19. Donovan Green now steps up, and he's the number 1 receiver for Wake Forest. The reason I like him here is they are a 33-point underdog to the Clemson Tigers. They have a good quarterback in Sam Hartman. Wake Forest is going to be throwing the football a ton in the second half. Put Donovan Green in your lineups, everyone.
Wow, that's a fascinating one. That's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. I can't wait for that.
All right, what are we on now? We're on slide number 5. Here it comes.
All right. This is my Draftkings Fantastic Four for all of our viewers. If you like me, you love DFS. I love NFL DFS. I do the Scholar Sheet of Knowledge for FootballDiehards.com. Go check it out. And I'm doing every week my Fantastic Four CFB DF heroes to help you build cash game lineups. tomorrow on Draftkings, there are 2 slates. There are a day slate and there is an evening slate. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to give you the day slate for college fantasy football. I'm going to give you my Fantastic Four in this game. I'm going to start out the quarterback position. I want to save some cash, so I'm going to go down a little bit. I'm going to go Skylar Thompson of Kansas State. We talked about this game a little earlier. Skylar Thompson is a dual threat quarterback. He's at home against a group of 5 opponent. Twice last year, Skylar Thompson scored over 30 points, and 4 times he scored over 20. I like Skylar Thompson. He scored 11 rushing touchdowns last year. They're going to run the football against Arkansas State. He's your quarterback. Now, remember, in college fantasy football, Emil, there's no tight ends. There is a super flex and a flex position. In the super flex, you can put another quarterback. So I recommend that you start 2 quarterbacks every week, one in the quarterback position and one in the super flex. Then they have a flex position, and they actually count tight ends as wide receivers. So the college game has a little bit different roster construction than your NFL game. Now, there's a player for 3 years out of Coach Brian Kelly's career at Notre Dame. He's at 1,000-yard rusher. This year, the number 1 guy right now heading out of training camp is Kyren Williams. Notre Dame are 20-point favorites against Duke. Notre Dame has one of the top 3 offensive lines in the nation. They are mean, they are physical, they are nasty. They're going to run the ball very successfully against Duke. Put Kyren Williams into your lineup for $6,600. Now, I want to save you guys a little bit of money. I'm going to go down in salary. I'm going to go on the other side of that Arkansas State-Kansas State game. I'm going to go to the wide receiver, Bubba Ogabor. Now, they have 3 receivers, the Red Wolves. I'm going to dip into the lowest salary receiver. Last year, he had 4 receptions for over 40 yards. But I believe he had 8 or 9 targets. He's the cheapest price on the board. I like him a lot in this game. He's only $4,000. We need to save some salary. So you're going to have a lot of action in that Arkansas State-Kansas State game. And finally, I had mentioned it. Tight ends are wide receivers in college fantasy football. Charlie Kohler of the Iowa State Cyclones. They're playing Louisiana. He's only $4,500. In 8 games last year, he scored over double-digit points on Draftkings. He's also their best receiver and their second-best offensive player. I like Charlie Kohler to tight end, put him in a wide receiver position to save cash.
Oh, those are some good ones. I like the bonus on Bubba, getting him at a lower price.
Yes, and now there's a lot of big players who you can put in at that price.
Now, just a funny question. Is that first B in his name silent? Is Ogabor?
If you know me long enough, I'm kind of bad at these types of names.
I'm just being funny. That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, so I don't know. I wish I didn't hear it in the game because I was listening to some other stuff. I watch a lot of football with multiple TVs and the radio on.
Gotcha. That's smart, except the delay. All right, here we go. Slide number 6.
All right, my friends, let's go to the evening slate. And that's what I love about college fantasy football. You get 2 DFS slate Saturdays. So I enjoy the whole day football. Then I have another contest at night. This evening, tomorrow evening, there are 6 night games that you can pick players from. And here's my Fantastic Four for this one. We need to save some money. There are so many good quarterbacks in the evening slate. But 3, 4, 5, the 6th most expensive quarterback is Mikael Cunningham of Louisville. We mentioned the game earlier, Emil. He's $7,100. To give you an idea, Sam Ellinger, who's playing UTEP, is $9,000. So if you want to put Ellinger into your lineup, you need to find a quarterback to save some cash. I like Mikhail Cunningham at home against the Hilltoppers. Now, I have a feeling Texas Tech is absolutely going to blow out Houston Baptist. They have our sophomore running back, Sir Roderick Thompson. He is big, strong, physical runner. Houston Baptist is an FBS school. They're at the lower level. Their defensive front seven will not stand up to Texas Tech and that high-powered offense. Texas Tech is transitioning a little bit from that high-powered offense under Cliff Kingsbury to a little bit more ground-oriented. And Thompson is a rising college fantasy football star. I like him in this contest. He can easily get 100 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in the first half. And if you get that, you're going to hit 3 times your salary. So I like Sir Roderick Thompson against Houston Baptist. Now, the big game, national television, our country's going to be watching. Clemson versus Wake Forest. Clemson is a 33-point favorite. So there is concern that they're blowing out Wake Forest and they take their starters. The good news is Clemson has a whole new wide receiver core. Dabo Swinney and that offense is going to want to get their young players targets and catches. Because if they want to get back to the national championship game, these young receivers are going to have to perform. What do? In these blowouts, you keep them in for a while and you let them score. Joseph Nagata is the guy that I want in Clemson. He's a legitimate NFL prospect from California. He's huge. He's like 6'4", 210 pounds. He's going to eat against Wake Forest. And I'm going to go on the other side. Wake Forest, we talked about it a little bit before. Donovan Green, he's only $4,600. They are going to be playing catch-up the entire second half. Clemson will eventually put in their second and third string defensive backs. Donovan Green should be able to get open. Sam Hartman's the quarterback for Wake Forest. He's replacing Jamie Newman. He's had experience. He's played before. He's good enough to get the ball to Donovan Green. That is my Fantastic Four for the night slate.
Oh, those are great. All right. The 7th and final slide. Here we go.
If you want a little bit of betting action, I have 3 best bets for you for week 2. We've already talked in detail. I love Louisville. They're only 11.5-point favorite. It opened, Emil, at 13.5, and I did not want to give the juice of 2 touchdowns to the Hilltoppers. The numbers actually come down. I like Louisville a lot in this game. I'm taking Louisville, given the 11.5 at home against Western Kentucky. Now, in the first week of the season, one thing I noticed, the offenses are not clicking yet. It's taken a while. We've had a lot of games on the under. I have a feeling this game, Notre Dame and Duke, is going to be highly rated and people want to bet on the Fighting Irish. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the Fighting Irish against Duke at home. I don't think Duke can score very many points. I think the Fighting Irish will take the dogs off in the second half. I'm going to go under 54 points, Duke at North Carolina. And finally, I mentioned it, South Alabama. They upset Southern Mississippi on the road. It was a major upset last week. They are now 10-point home underdogs against Tulane. Emil, wow. Tulane is not very good. I am shocked that Tulane is a 10-point favorite on the road here. Wow. I like South Alabama to start the season 2-0 I think they upset Tulane. I love the 10 points I'm getting as a home underdog. And finally, this is probably the only week we'll talk about Heisman hopefuls, maybe who's rising and who's falling. But if you want a little action on FanDuel Sportsbook, I did a little research, and since 2000, 17 quarterbacks have won the Heisman Trophy. Only 3 running backs, Emil. So what did that say to me? I need to research quarterbacks. Who do I like? Also, I want a little bit of juice. As an example, Trevor Lawrence is the overwhelming favorite for the Heisman. But if you remember last year at this time, Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence were the favorites, and neither one won the Heisman. Joe Burrow did. So I want to go a little bit deeper. I want a little juice. Who am I putting $10 down, $20 down? I'm going to give you 3 long shots at the quarterback position. Sam Howell, who I discussed, sophomore quarterback. Emil, he is a top 5 NFL quarterback. He has an incredible arm. He is a legitimate NFL star 3 years from now. I like Sam Howell, North Carolina, plus 4,000. Now, they're going to have to beat Clemson. But if somehow the Tar Heels can beat Clemson or win the ACC, Sam Howell could get the Heisman. I like plus 4,000. Hey, Tua is no longer at Alabama. Next man up, Mac Jones. Plus 2,500 for the Alabama quarterback. I'll take it. If Alabama runs the table in the SEC, they get to the postseason, Mac Jones might be the reason why. Excuse me. Then, LSU is still loaded. They're still a good football team. There's a lot of turnover. But they have a new quarterback, Miles Brennan. He's stepping into a good offensive system. I like plus 4,000. Hey, you put $10 down, you could turn it into a serious, nice return. Remember, I'm looking for long shots. But Miles Brennan is stepping in for Joe Burrow for the LSU Tigers. I like him there. And finally, if you want to go in the running back, if you want to kind of take the long shot, my number 1 would be Najee Harris out of Alabama. 2 of the last 3 winners, Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry, all played at Alabama. If you're looking for a running back who could possibly win the Heisman, I like Najee Harris of Alabama, my friend.
Oh, those are fantastic. Looking forward to that. So all this is happening tomorrow. That quick.
Absolutely.
All right, here, I'm going to bring us back here. Now you can see our faces.
Maybe you don't want.
That's some great analysis, John. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell. I love NFL. You and I have been friends, I think, for almost 30 years now. It's been so long. I love NFL, but, I got 48 hours coming up. I am almost as glued on Saturdays as I am on Sundays. And I'll tell you, I do our scouting reports on footballdiehards.com. Playing college fantasy football has made me a better analyst of NFL draft prospects. I saw Darrington Evans a lot last year at Appalachian State. I knew he was an NFL prospect. So you get to find these players who people aren't always on when you play college fantasy football. And one of the big hits last year, by week 3, Joe Burrow, I knew he was the man, Emil. When you were watching Joe Burrow early in the season, you knew he could play. Now, I didn't know he was going to throw 60 touchdowns. He was going to win the national championship. But you knew Joe Burrow was better than people had given him credit for entering the season, and he just kept getting better and better all year.
It was funny. They interviewed him, and they said, Mel Kiper Jr. picked you, at some low level this year. He says, what do you think about that? And he goes, well, I wasn't very good last year. I got better. So,
he he wasn't. It's funny because I did a waiver wire gemstone on Burrow last year after 2 weeks. He was only owned in like 52% of college fantasy football leagues after 2 weeks. Ooh. So even the college, I had him I think he was in my top 30. like 28 or 29 at the quarterback. I'm not going to tell you I knew he was going to throw 60 touchdowns. Now, after 2-3 weeks, I had him on some rosters because he was just so smoking hot. And then you realize how good Justin Jefferson was, how good Jamar Chase was, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So they started to pop. But if you love college fantasy football like me, you knew these guys. And look, you think about, I'll tell you this right now. There wasn't a person in the nation in August talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, talking about Justin Jefferson, or Joe Burrow. And they all went in the first round. I don't know who's going to go in the first round this year, but there are players we don't know about. Now, it's a little different because we've had so many who opt out. But there are players who are going to end up in the first round that we don't know right now, Dave.
That's incredible. Hey, I'm going to ask you a question. A guy from last year, LSU, James Robinson, who's now with Jacksonville, and I think he wasn't even drafted, and he's starting this week in the NFL.
No, he was drafted free agent.
Yeah, what did you think about him? Do you remember seeing him at all?
Yeah, so he's Southern Illinois, if my memory serves me. He had over 1,900 yards rushing. I did watch a little film on him. I don't go as deep as others, but obviously he was one of those prospects where you go, if he gets with the right coaching staff, if he gets in a program that believes in his skill set, right? Chase Edmonds. Philip Lindsay was an undrafted free agent. Chase Edmonds coming out of Fordham. If these young men can land with the right organization that gives them an opportunity, right? At Jacksonville, saw him in training camp. They got rid of Leonard Fournette, so they obviously feel comfortable with the young man coming onto the team. Now, my problem is I don't think Jacksonville's very good. It's not that I don't like Robinson. How is the game script and how many touchdown opportunities is he going to get? Because I think it's a Gardner Minshew team and DJ Chark. They're going to be playing from behind, right? They're going to be throwing football. But, yes, James Robinson has a role in this NFL, and we all know the story of Philip Lindsay by now. Undrafted free agent, Denver, back-to-back 1,000-yard stories. Sometimes you just need to land in that right spot.
Sure. Well, we're looking for those situations in fantasy football, and it's perfect for him because the other two guys are either hurt out of Coba or they're injured. So he's the number one running back going into Sunday. So we're going to see what he's got, and I'm looking forward to it. He's picked up I have a super dynasty league I started in 1981.
Yeah.
And the problem with this business is I'm so busy running the business. I go, I had a check for that guy in that league, and sure enough, he's gone. He was gone days. You can't get anybody in that league. Watermelon Pro Football League. Started it in 1981.
I have the same problem. I have 4 dynasty teams. I have 12 regular season teams. I have 4 college football. I have 2 more draft. Sometimes you just I'm writing and I'm working. So you do sometimes miss opportunities. But you know what? I'm doing this for the listeners, the followers, and because I love it. But
we've got a NFL question if you want to take a quick one here.
Yeah.
Lineup question, half a point PPR. I'm not sure what that matters with Brady or Wentz this week.
Ooh. You know what? I'm going to go Brady. I wonder, they seem to have lost a few weapons in Philadelphia. And I have a feeling there's going to be a sneaky shootout. Not sneaky, it's one of the higher over-unders. But I'm going to take Brady. Even though I love Wentz season long, and I have him in dynasty leagues, I'm going to take Brady this week in that matchup.
It's going to be fun to see what he does the first week. So there's the answer to that question. And before we go, gosh, I had another thing that I forgot. Oh, tomorrow we do our Cash DFS, tomorrow meaning Saturday night. And we do have ownership percentage on our site now. So we'll have to mix a little of those ownership in tomorrow if you need to, if you want to.
Absolutely, we can do that. I'll if you show me, or I'll figure out where it is on the page.
I'll link it to you. I'll show it to you. It's under the daily games, and there's a nav bar that says ownership percentages. But I'll email you the link. So that's kind of fun. I'm excited about that.
Oh, me too, my friend. Can't wait. And I'm going to actually update our Scholar Sheet of Knowledge came out on Monday, Labor Day, for all our readers. And I'm going to update it tomorrow morning, and I'll definitely update it for Sunday. Because you know what? We're going to have changes all the way until kickoff. I'm sure of it.
It's going to be a crazy weekend. So any more you'd like to talk about here before we get on down the road and let you draft your college team?
No, I'm just, for all the listeners, I'm so happy that you joined us. And Emil and I are going to be here every Friday night at 8 p.m. to help you. And the video's available on our YouTube channel and on the website, right? You can go to the website.
We'll have that up on the site in about 15 minutes.
There you go, everyone. So if you don't see us live at 8, check us out any other time before kickoff at noon.
Fantastic. Thanks, John. Great advice. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, my friend. See everyone next week.
Beautiful. And see you tomorrow night for Cash Day DFS. Okay.